and old-fashioned pride, they wished to remain united and preserve a front in court. Many could accept Goering's criminal policies and his cynicism, but had been appalled by the evidence on his looting. Schacht had said, "Stealing is in a way even worse than killing. It shows a man's character." Frank said he really did not know what to think of Goering. He can be so charming at times, but how could he steal those treasures for himself in wartime? But those most likely...
This is about the Nuremberg trials. And I think they're talking about Goering, they said of Goering, that the fact that he had stolen is worse than the fact that he had killed a bunch of people.
Oh my God.
Because it reflected on his character.
So the character, oh my God.
Already
Not the action.
underway this pre-season tournament, the European Continental Shield. These are the second
Goering
round of
lied,
matches.
and to condemn in open court the regime they had served were Chirac and Speer. When Chirac first arrived in Nuremberg jail, he told Gilbert he intended to write a denunciation of Hitler's betrayal of German youth. But Gilbert noted in mid-February that the essential moral weakness of this narcissist had been clearly shown in the manner in which he had subdued his indignation at the betrayal under the influence of Goering's aggressive cynicism, nationalism, and pose of romantic heroism. Gilbert, however, suspected that Chirac was weak enough to give way to the strongest pressure, and felt that he and Kelly between them could act as a countervailing force to Goering. He wanted a public denunciation by Chirac. His other hope lay in Speer. Speer's counsel had actually announced in court on the 3rd of January that his client had attempted to assassinate Hitler in February 1945. Details would emerge during Speer's appearance in the witness box. The announcement had caused first bewilderment among the other defendants, then an explosion of rage from Goering. "Damn that stupid fool Speer," he said in his cell that evening. "Did you see how he disgraced himself in court today? How could he stoop so low as to do such a rotten thing to save his lousy neck?" In his own cell, Speer told Gilbert, "It shows that somebody did try to do something, instead of obeying that destructive maniac to the very end." Gilbert decided to play on Speer's rejection of the destructive. In mid-February, he took a book with pictures of Speer's work as Hitler's architect. He stressed how much was now in ruins. Speer condemned Hitler for destroying not just his own work, but much of what Germany had built up over 800 years. Then he burst out, "Someday I would just like to cut loose and give a good piece of my mind about the whole damn Nazi mess and let the German people see once and for all what rotten corruption, hypocrisy and madness the whole system was based on." But only someday. Gilbert wanted it one day very soon. His diary is extremely coy about any backing he may have had from others in authority in his plans to wring denunciations from Chirac and Speer. It seems clear that he had Anders's cooperation. There is no evidence whatsoever in any source that he discussed his ideas with the prosecution. Acting alone or with approval, however, he set about breaking Goering's control over the defendants and rendering them more vulnerable to gentle persuasion from other quarters. First, on the 15th of February, an order was issued imposing strict solitary confinement in jail. No official reasons were given, but Goering spotted immediately that he lay at the bottom of it. "Don't you see that all this joking and horseplay is only comic relief? If I didn't pep them up, a couple of them would simply collapse." Then, a week later, Gilbert drew up new seating arrangements for the defendants at lunch. He says in his diary that this was at Anders's suggestion. Under the new arrangement, instead of sitting together in one room, where Goering could dominate them all, he was to be separated and must lunch alone. The others were then divided between 5 other rooms, the groups being composed to fit Gilbert's theories on their personality. In the youth lunchroom, Speer, Fritzsche, Chirac and Funk were to eat together. Gilbert reckoned that Speer and Fritzsche together could wean the other weaker characters away from Goering's influence. In the elders' lunchroom, he put all the old conservatives, Papen, Neurath, Schacht and Dönitz, those always fastidious in their judgment of Goering, whom he hoped would be won over by Schacht's contempt for Hitler and Ribbentrop. Frank, Seyss-Inquart, Keitel and Zaukel were grouped together to encourage the feeble flickers of personal guilt that each of them had shown on occasion. Rader, Stryker, Hess and Ribbentrop were put together because Gilbert thought they would hardly find anything to say to each other, and this would neutralize them, which left Jodl, Frick, Kaltenbrunner and Rosenberg to share a lunch table. Gilbert offers no reason for this grouping. Presumably they were just remnants for whom he had no ambitions and who would not actually do each other any harm. The results of the experiment were seen almost immediately. Within a day, Schacht was regaling his lunch companions with his contemptuous opinions on the Nazis as gangsters, destroying the economy he had built up, in spite of a glowering Goering looming in the doorway. By the weekend, Speer was admitting to Gilbert that the new arrangement made him feel freer to develop the plans for his defense along the lines he preferred. He wanted the German people to realize that Hitler, not the Allies, had been responsible for their present suffering. It was a small step forward for Speer. Perhaps the other defendants too might begin to ponder questions of their own responsibility. It was a slim hope. If 3 months of prosecution evidence had affected them so little, it was hardly likely that even the ingenious plot of separate tables would arouse a sense of moral responsibility during the next 5 months of the defense cases.
Very good tackle.
Chapter 11. The defense case began on the 8th of March 1946, in spite of an attempt by the defense lawyers to delay it for 3 weeks. On the 4th of February, Dr. Stammer had written to the tribunal on behalf of his colleagues, pleading for a recess at the end of the prosecution case to give defense counsel time to prepare. His request was brought by Dr. Krauss on the 18th of February. The judges decided to refuse a 3-week recess.